fantasy football. The Browns went back to the familiar, the guy who came off the couch and led them to the playoffs a couple years ago, Joe Flacco. The 40-year-old will be the starter in Cleveland. Who his backup is, though, that remains to be seen. Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders will each get reps in their final preseason game. Sanders says he's ready for anything.
I don't care. Whenever it's time for me to get out there and play, I'm going to play. Whenever it's time for the lights to come on, I'm going to do my thing. I'm not concerned about when it is. I'm not concerned about, how many reps I'm getting at this point is what it is. Because I know when the lights come on, when everything go on, when the pressure's on, you know who I am. And I'm always be that way.
Meanwhile, Kenny Pickett's still dealing with a hamstring injury. He hasn't seen any preseason action. What are you hearing about that quarterback room there in Cleveland?
Yeah, so the Browns are trying to figure out whether they're going to keep 4 quarterbacks on the roster or roster cuts looming. I know that they do not plan to trade Dillon Gabriel, that's for sure. They also don't plan to trade Shedeur Sanders. They like the rookies and what they've done so far. It looks like they want to continue to develop both. So the question is, what do they do with Kenny Pickett, who's been out most of camp? They like what he was doing before he got hurt. So they're trying to sort all this out. They are open-minded about keeping 4 on the roster, which is somewhat rare, but they've done before in Cleveland. They're going to go from there. So you'll see this weekend Joe Flacco probably playing about 20 to 25 snaps, then Dillon Gabriel, then Shedeur Sanders. Gabriel has had the edge on Sanders so far.
Yeah, even though he had a couple of turnovers in his last preseason game, Courtney.
Yeah, to Jeremy's point, there's no incentive for Cleveland to get rid of any of these quarterbacks until they absolutely have to. But that's why this weekend matters so much, and next week's practice matters so much. This quarterback 2 battle is going to go all the way up until week 1 based on what we haven't seen from these guys. There hasn't been one of these young quarterbacks go up and grab that role. Dillon Gabriel last week, some good third down throws, but then the pick 6 that he threw.
And a fumble.
Shedeur Sanders, the first preseason game against Carolina, has a great performance, and then he has the oblique injury. So all of that good momentum seems to go away just because of the time that he's missed. So for these 2 quarterbacks and the opportunity that they have, as Jeremy pointed out, Dillon Gabriel will get the snaps right behind Joe Flacco, and then it will be Shedeur Sanders. This game goes a really long way in determining the pecking order.
Yeah, we're running out of time here. Sam, what are you going to be looking at when you're assessing the 2 rookies?
I'll be looking for more of the wow throws that we saw from Shedeur Sanders earlier in the preseason. There were a couple of throws that were not rookie-type throws or, hey, I'm trying to figure it out throws. Those were NFL-caliber throws. That touchdown that he had rolling out to the left in the end zone. Also, some of the one-handed catches that you saw. These are like jump-off-the-screen type of throws. That's what I'm looking for from Shedeur. From Dillon Gabriel, I'm looking for him to take away those turnovers. You're going against the 2s and the 3s, and though Dillon Gabriel looks sharp, if you're evaluating him, you're going to look at the pick 6 and look at the fumble. So if you could reduce some of those and still shine against 2s and 3s, that'll help elevate him. But for Shedeur, keep the ball clean, use your legs, and then let those throws jump off the screen like you did earlier in the preseason.
Right, try to not have those turnovers. Courtney, it was great being with you today. Thanks to Courtney Cronin for being with us. And in case you missed it, the Colts named Daniel Jones the starter in Indy, beating out Anthony Richardson. Now, Shane Steichen gave his reasoning on the decision this week.
Look, he's our starting quarterback for the season. I don't want to have a quick leash on that. I feel confident in his abilities. I think consistency, operation, moving the ball, being consistent on a daily basis. I think Daniel Jones, has done that. I think, that year they went to the playoffs. He was 1 game away from an NFC championship game and making the right decisions. And his completion percentage, I think that keeps us on track. So that's a big part of it. Obviously, you want to see the big plays. I think Daniel Jones is capable of that as well.
So, Jeremy, is he done? Should we actually be looking for an Anthony Richardson trade? He out of Indy?
Well, Hannah, here's why I won't take that off the table.
Okay.
Derek Jackson, who's the agent for Anthony Richardson, is supposed to meet with the Colts and Chris Ballard, the GM, at some point next week. What comes of that meeting could determine a lot, because this is a player that's frustrated, not only frustrated, but wants to play. He knows he needs to play. He hasn't had a lot of reps, even dating back to high school. He feels like he needs to be on the field. He feels like he answered the bell at camp, had a good camp, answered the questions that they had about his leadership and his work ethic, did all those things. Now he has this frustration and has to figure out something to do with it. I had a great quote from an AFC exec today I was talking to. They said, put him on the Eagles and let him play a little bit. 1 read, run the ball. Like, he's still probably the most athletic quarterback in the entire league despite the inexperience. So people around the league are sort of toying with the idea of him being on another team. He wouldn't have huge trade value because the production's not there, but he would have value.
Wow, I mean, to go from Indy to the Eagles, that would be quite a move, even with limited play.
Not that they need it, but that's,
yeah.
he would have to go somewhere, almost like Trey Lance did a couple years ago.
Exactly.
Rebuild his career a little bit.
Right. Some sneaky big news out of Atlanta, by the way, this week, where Michael Penix Jr. could be without his blindside protection to start the season. Jeremy, you were all over this story, posting Falcons right tackle Caleb McGarry will miss time on the apparent leg injury suffered Wednesday, per source, who added the exact timetable is not immediately known, but for now he's out of the lineup. And I mean, Bill, you've got ankle surgery for Storm Norton, your backup tackle. He's expected to miss 6 to 8 weeks. So how concerned are you about this Falcons O-line?
This is a nightmare scenario for the Atlanta Falcons. It's like you said, right tackle means more to them than just about any other team in football because their quarterback, Michael Penix, is left-handed. So that means now his blind side has their top two options off the table. Elijah Wilkinson was getting some reps there. They could call, the Texans about Trent Brown or maybe the Chiefs about Wanya Morris, but suddenly that spot is now a incredibly weak part of your offensive line, protecting your inexperienced young quarterback as he enters in his first full season as the starter. A lot of quarterbacks don't like to throw hot off their blind side, so you can do more with your front side. You can kind of shield your protections that way, do what you can to protect him, and then let the quarterback see the pressure coming from the front side, but it is totally different from your blind side. So this is a very difficult scenario the Falcons are going to have to deal with for what might be a couple months here, depending on what happens with Caleb McGarry's testing.
And all of this under the prism of not having made the playoffs since 2017. It's been that long for the Atlanta Falcons. Coming up next, Bill is back unveiling his ranking of teams that he thinks are actually going to regress this season, including a playoff.
They get up. Our next stop, Cleveland. Browns rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders expected to play in tomorrow's preseason finale against the Rams. Yesterday, he was asked about that entertainers versus competitors comment that Dillon Gabriel, another rookie quarterback there, made during an in-game interview last week that some interpreted as a dig at Shedeur Sanders. Here's what he said.
Spoke with him. He said, "Nah, bro, that wasn't." He said that wasn't. He told me on the plane. He came up. He was like, "Nah, bro, that wasn't at you. I see how they trying to spin." I'm like, "Oh, all right." I'm not tripping, regardless of whatever it was. Nobody's words or anything affects me, So. Yeah.
So did you believe him when he told you it wasn't on you?
Did I believe him?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like you're trying to start stuff now. I feel like you're trying to start stuff. I mean, he's doing his job. He's supposed to. Do I feel like he did? I don't know. And that's not on me to sit here and be like, oh, he did, he didn't. That's not going to change my life in any way.
Interesting at minimum, right? Like, we play this game sometimes, something or nothing. So this whole little kerfuffle, if indeed it even is one, is it something or nothing?
I mean, it's nothing. Guys actually fight. I don't know if you know this, but guys actually throw fists in football practice sometimes. So there's tension. I've been a part of position battles that aren't the backup quarterback position battle, and there's tension. It doesn't really do anything. It doesn't mean anything. So I think it's nothing. It was clear that neither of them. So Gabriel obviously said something that could be interpreted the way that we're all interpreted. Shedeur had the opportunity to shut it down. He chose not to. I don't care about it, and I think that he doesn't care either, but I don't know. This is not going to get in the way of anything.
I mean, look, I have 2 points here. One, I don't think that Dillon Gabriel, for whatever it's worth, I don't think he was taking a shot. This is not Taylor Swift at an awards show dropping Easter eggs for Taylor Swift 13. That's not what's happening here.
I was about to say, Taylor got beef? What happened?
No. She's just sending messages that way.
Gotcha, okay.
I don't think that's
could
what
be
was
saying we've got, if you're going to use a Taylor reference, then we could say we got bad blood.
Right,
we used to had mad love, but then you made a deep cut. I mean, I know the words to the song.
They never had mad love.
This is your fault, Brooke. This is your fault.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yes.
For all the Swifties that are tuning in.
Right.
But here's the other thing. I really appreciate the way that Shedeur handled that back and forth with the reporter, because I can tell you, as a reporter sitting in that seat, you want to build a rapport with the quarterback, and you want to me, if he had sniped right back at him and been short and been kind of bristly at it, then I would think, oh, there's more there. Oh, something's going on. I almost think he did shut it down with the tone that he had. Because if he had been, again, curt, then I would think, okay, I need to keep digging. I need to ask more follow-up questions.
All right, so Graziano, here's what I want to throw, because you've been there and you've talked to everybody involved, and you have a much better sense than I do of where everyone's head is involved in this situation. There's one part of me that thinks these are two rookie quarterbacks vying for a backup job So why in the world would this be significant to anyone anyway? There's another part of me that thinks this isn't just that, though. Shedeur Sanders is not your run-of-the-mill fifth-round quarterback. He's just not. And what winds up happening with him is going to be of enormous interest to a lot of people. Sure. It may or may not be of great consequence to the Cleveland Browns' future, but it is of enormous interest to people. Sure. And Dillon Gabriel is the guy who was unexpectedly drafted in the third round ahead of him. So there's a uniqueness to the situation that makes it interesting to me one way or the other.
I would agree. I don't know the ins and outs of their relationship or whether they have one. But yeah, the situation is you have a fairly wide open competition here because the starter is Joe Flacco, who's 40 years old and not the future of the franchise. Kenny Pickett, who's in front of both of them on the depth chart, hasn't been able to stay healthy. So at this point, it looks like one of the two rookies is going to be the backup on week one's game against the Bengals. So they are in a competition. I don't think this whole thing has nothing to do with that competition.
Correct.
But I think to Brooks' point about how do you carry yourself in the building, I think what we've heard about Shedeur Sanders has all been positive in that front. So obviously showing maturity there and handling a weird situation probably the right way.
Not his first rodeo. I mean, he's experienced it from his dad. He's been around. He's been a high-profile athlete for a long time. But listen, the competition was on when you drafted me. So we understand.
Yeah.
Men can be teammates and be respectful, but it's still a competition. At the end of the day, it's not over till I win, to quote Les Brown. You know what I mean? And right now, Shedeur quietly is trying to become the starting quarterback because this is his probably best opportunity to be a starter in this league because all I have to do is go around a 40-year-old guy that's not going to be here, another guy that's a franchise guy that they're going to get out of here as soon as they can, and I got this third-round guy in front of me. Oh, that's barbecue chicken.
At the end of the day, you just said it right. Kenny Pickett's not healthy. So one of these two guys is going to be a hit away from playing 2 weeks from Sunday, right?
Unless it's Tyrod Taylor, who's also there. This is the weirdest quarterback situation in the league.
Yeah, we can't predict it, but I think the point that is important is that the Shedeur thing is going to make it, we all assume that it's nothing, but the fact that there's some, multiplying factor when you involve Shedeur makes it a little bit more interesting and makes it a possibility to build into something more interesting.
Not Tyrod Taylor.
You meant Tyler Huntley.
Tyler Huntley.
I knew what you meant.
I'm about to say, what happened? Break it on.
They did bring everybody
He's supposed to be on the Jets. Okay.